What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's the big dog named Austin, back at you again with some more football. We got Week 4 matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers at the LAUD HAUSE. The Colts coming into this game at 1-2. The Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this game at 3-0. The Steelers are 2.5-point favorites. We'll get to my pick here in a little bit. If you've watched my other video, you knew who I'm going to pick. But let's get into it. The quarterback head-to-head matchup. Justin Fields, 55 of 75 for 518 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Anthony Richardson on the other side of the ball, 36 out of 73 passes. He is just a little bit below 50% completion this year, 49.6%. Not good. 583 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not great. Not good at all. Najee Harris, 55 carries, 209 yards. Jonathan Taylor, 51 carries, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. George Pickens, 13 receptions, 117 yards, no touchdowns. Alec Pierce, 9 catches, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns. These are the guys you're going to have to watch for. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming into this game only scoring 3 touchdowns on offense. They are 24th in total yards on offense. They're 29th in passing yards. They're 12th in rushing. So Najee Harris is pretty solid, as well as Justin Fields. That's going to be really tough to defend for the Colts, especially without Kwity Paye, Kenny Moore, DeForest Buckner's out. He's still on IR, but Kwity Paye is out with a quad injury. Kenny Moore, he's out with a hip injury. Both of them got injured play 88 and play 89 last week. And those are some really, really tough losses for the Colts. Justin Fields has been playing really well, and so has George Pickens. And it always seems to be one guy for the opposing team. Their main receiver goes off. And George Pickens, I think he'll have a pretty solid day. Probably over 100 yards, if we're being honest, because our secondary is not very good. But we'll see. Pittsburgh Steelers are also 24th in points. As I mentioned, they've only scored 3 touchdowns. Chris Boswell on the season is 11 for 11. So every time that they trotted him out for a field goal, he has been money. So don't expect him to miss on Sunday. I think you know where I'm going with this one. I don't... All these stats I'm reading off to you. Listen to these stats, because these are the most important stats, and this is going to be the difference in the game. The Steelers are first in third down conversions. The Colts, offensively, are ranked 28th. The Steelers are number 2 in time of possession this season. Now, all these stats are through these first 3 games, so take this with a grain of salt. As we get more and more games, these stats will be more telling. Numbers only tell a certain part of the story, but I do think that they tell a lot of truth. But back to it. The Steelers are number 2 in time of possession. The Colts are in last place in time of possession. This is not the first time I've brought up time of possession talking about the Colts. The Colts have been atrocious and just holding on to the ball. Their defense has been on the field way too much, and they're not good. The Colts defense isn't good, and they're on the field too much. And they're injured. So not good. Not good at all. The Colts have given up 26 third down conversions this season. That's the most in the league, which ties into the Steelers being first in third down conversions. So you got a team in the Steelers who's really great at third down conversions, and then a team in the Colts who's really bad at giving them up, or really bad at stopping them on third down. So I don't think the Colts are going to be able to stop the Steelers on third down, and that's going to be a big deal. You want to get off the field, you got to stop a team on third down. That's the big money down. 3 and out, or hold them to a field goal, or whatever happens. But you get an offense off the field on third down, that's good. But you've struggled to do that this far. You're banged up on defense. It's going to be really tough. But that's not even the best part of the Steelers football team. But the best part of their team is their defense. Their defense is probably the best defense in the league. Okay, their defense is ranked first in total yards given up, 5th in passing yards given up, tied for 2nd in rushing yards given up, and they're first in points given up, 8.7 points per game given up this season. And they have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every single year he steps on the field. TJ Watt, who's got 10 tackles and 3 sacks. He is going to be a game wrecker. You're looking at two questionable players on the offensive line. Brian Kelly and Braden Smith, who both are questionable, and The offensive line for the Colts have been playing really well this season. If you lose two of your key guys, two of your veteran guys, man, I don't know how you stop a guy like T.J. Watt or Cam Hayward. This game could be ugly. I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first time. So if you've seen my videos, you'll know that this is actually the first game I had the Colts losing on the schedule. Now, say what you want to say about the Texans and the Packers. I thought we'd be 3-0. Stupid to say. I thought Anthony Richardson would be better, to be completely honest with you. I did. He was a lot better last season before he got hurt than he is this season. Hopefully he can get back to what he was last season, because he was almost 10% better in completion percentage, and he was running the ball better. We'll see if he can get into it a little bit. But also another thing that's going to be a big difference in this game is the turnover battle. Every time the Colts have lost the turnover battle, they've lost the game. Every time the Colts have won, only one time, they've won the game. They won the turnover battle last week. They've thrown the ball over 2 times. The Bears turned it over 3 times. The Steelers are not the Bears. The Steelers are a smart football team who's coached by one of the greatest coaches of all time, and Mike Tomlin will be in the Hall of Fame. Literally, I have had all these stats and all these numbers on why the Colts are going to lose, and I can't come up with anything that makes me believe in the Colts other than Jonathan Taylor. But I'm still a little hesitant to even say that because of the banged up nature of the offensive line. Now, Braden Smith and Ryan Kelly could play on Sunday. I'm not sure how it's going. But those 2 players, if they play on Sunday, the Colts offense will need to be predominantly run. And I think it needs to be predominantly run anyway, because Anthony Richardson's not going to beat you with his arm right now. I feel like you need to run with Jonathan Taylor, run with Anthony Richardson, try to play a better defense than you have in the past. Now, the first 3 halves, so if you look at the games, the 3 games we've played, and divide them up into each and halves, the first 3 halves of football that we played, the whole game against the Texans and the first half against the Packers, our defense was terrible. But the second half against the Packers and then the entire game against the Bears, our run defense was pretty damn good. I'm just pointing that out. So maybe we finally found a little bit of mojo on our defense. Now, only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens on Sunday. If our defense can play, a little more sound football than they did last week, a little better, they can continue to get better every week, well, we can win some games. But man, we got a really tough Steelers team coming into this week. 3-0. They're rolling. Like I said, they look like one of the best defenses in the league. Their offense seems to be, clicking. Nothing too special, but they're doing just enough. Justin Fields seems to be a guy. This is going to be really tough. And also, another thing, Pittsburgh Steelers fans travel very well. Now, I have grown up around a lot of Steelers fans, and there are a lot of Steelers fans in the state of Indiana. But that's because the Steelers are a great franchise, and the Steelers, have fans all across the nation, probably all across the world. I've been to a handful of Colts Steelers games over the years, and every single time the Steelers fans show up, they're loud, they're proud, their terrible towels are going, and it's their top 3, maybe even top 2 traveled fan bases. I've seen every team in person. The Steelers, the Packers travel very well. If you remember last season, the Colts had a pretty important game against the Steelers. The Colts ended up winning that game 30-13. That was the last time the Steelers had lost a game in the regular season. The Steelers have won the last 6 regular season games. If you remember that game, Michael Pittman Jr. got knocked out early. The other player got tossed, I think, and the Colts ended up winning 30-13 without Jonathan Taylor. They ended up having, split carries between Trey Sermon, Tyler Goodson, because I think Zach Moss was also hurt. So last year, and I know this is a completely different team. I'm not saying that since we did this last year, we're going to do it this year. But last year, they couldn't stop the run against us. So our bread and butter will be run the damn ball. Run the damn ball. So unfortunately, I do have the Colts losing this game. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. This isn't, the fan in me says, oh yeah, the Colts are going to win. The Colts are going to smoke them. The realism in me says all these stats favor the Steelers. All of them. All of them. That's it. That's all I got. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully we come out of Lucas Oil Stadium on Sunday with a win. And hopefully a bunch of Steelers fans are going home crying instead of us. But we'll see. That's all I got. I am the big dog named Austin. I appreciate you all watching. If you'd like to, please subscribe to my channel. Colts content. Colts, more Colts. Like this video. Share it to a friend. Tell them, watch this video.
All right, everybody! Tie your shoes! Yeah!
I'm the big dog named Austin. Go Colts.